Escape the dungeon!
Hello, everybody. This is a brand new season of Escape the Dungeon, and we are coming at you with an episode 0. That means that we are not going to actually start playing the game today. I don't know why I'm speaking so vaguely. It's in the title of this episode. Urban Shadows. Our new game.
Let's go!
For season 2. Urban Shadows 2nd edition. Ooh. We are not actually going to start playing Urban Shadows this week. We are going to be talking about the game, talking about our ideas and inspirations, and all of that good stuff. So if you are only in it for the juicy stuff, for that sweet, sweet actual play goodness, feel free to skip ahead to episode 1 of season 2. But if not, strap in, baby. We're gonna go for a bumpy ride.
Let's go!
I am Mike Cripps. I will be your host once again for season 2 of Escape the Dungeon. And if you have not yet listened to season 1, go listen to it. Scum and Villainy. It was super fun. But we are getting started with season 2, Urban Shadows, and returning to season 2 are all 3 members of the cast. Zach Brass.
That's me.
Dom Brass.
Yo.
And Nate Brass.
What's up, Internet? I am Nate. Nate is I. And today, I'll be playing myself.
Killing it.
But that is not it. For season 2, we are bringing in someone else to join our merry cast. Someone that, dear listeners, if you have listened to season 1, you might know very well already, even if he hasn't actually been on an episode, because you have heard his voice and his music in every single episode. I am so pleased to introduce Tyler Knittle. What's up, Tyler?
Yo.
You are now allowed to speak.
Woo!
I thought it would be fun to do what we did in episode 0 of season 1, where we introduced each other with some fun facts. So, audience, here is what you need to know about our new cast member, Tyler. I'll start. He is the world's biggest roller coaster tycoon fan.
Hell yes, I am. I've been playing that shit since I've been 8. Fucking
Cool.
love it.
Not cool, dude.
Planet Coaster 2 is coming out soon, and I'm super stoked.
Gross.
What is it about those games that you love so much, Tyler?
They make me feel like a kid again, and they're just this nice amount of simple. It's like making a super awesome painting, but you only have like 8 crayons.
You do famously paint with crayons.
Shut up. Make art with crayons then. Sue me. God damn it. Anyway, but like more modern creative games, like I'm playing City Skylines 2 a bunch. There's a lot more detail to it, and you'll spend like an hour on the smallest things, whereas Roller Coaster Tycoon, bitch, I have like 4 roller coasters out at an hour. I don't have time for that shit, and it looks great.
Great.
Very good. Zach, you have known Tyler the longest. How about you give us a need to know bit of info about our new cast member?
Tyler bruises a beer.
Yep.
Sometimes. I mean, used to be more often.
This is a good turn in everyone's health.
It's not like I've stopped drinking. Are you kidding me? No, but as Ron Swanson would say, don't half-ass 2 things, whole-ass 1 thing. And I figured this was a better use of my time.
A better use of your ass.
Yes, a better use of my ass, my whole ass, was this podcast. Because this may surprise you, but it takes a kind of a long time to fucking get through an hour and 30 minutes of raw content.
It was better allocation of your assets. That was the joke. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay,
My
worth
ass.
it. Worth it, Dom.
Thank you.
Fucking nailed it, dude.
Shut up.
One take Dom, they call him.
I hate you so much.
Dom, what would you like to share with the people about Tyler?
Honestly, I'd like to keep questioning him on his questionable video game tastes. He's also a big fan of Persona, which seems really fucked up that you just like games that are terrible.
And just like that, we've lost 75% of our listenership.
I know, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you know, we're all judging you. Well, at least like half of us are judging you. And by half, I mean 2 of the 5.
Everyone else is like, no, those games are dope, dude. I'm like, bro, you go to school and you take turns when you fight. I'm fucking
Look,
done.
if you can talk shit on Persona all you want, it is the closest Mike is ever going to get to actually seeking out anything at all anime related, because he actually likes Persona 2. That's right. I'm calling you out on this. You basically playing an anime, but you won't watch them.
Yeah. You like anime, the video game.
I think it is problematic that you group those things together just because they are both Japanese. Anyway,
Nice.
Nate, what would you like to share with the people about Tyler?
Tyler really hates and has bad opinions on Star Wars, which is why we didn't let him record in season 1. But we're not allowed to talk about that this season, which is why he's here now.
I truly will not talk about Star Wars with you anymore,
Oh,
Tyler.
but we have to a little
Okay,
bit
well,
because
not
to date
right
this
now.
I'm
Not
to
episode,
be
right, 'cause
honest,
we're gonna
I'm more
revisit.
on Tyler's side than either of your guys,
Oh.
but that's all I'll say.
Okay,
You
we're not
also
even
bad
going to get
opinions.
into Nate's taste in Star Wars movies.
No.
Okay, we're not touching that.
He's setting you up to think one way, listeners, but trust me, Nate's crazy.
look,
He's
can we not
insane.
right now? This is not a
We're
good
not
way to
doing
honor
this,
James
but
Earl
just-
Jones.
Okay.
We are not doing this because this is not the Star Wars season. You had that already. You had season 1. No, we are doing something very different thematically and setting wise, and I think this is going to be pretty different, and I'm really excited about it. Urban Shadows 2nd edition. This is a powered by the apocalypse game. A lot of people think that means that it's a rules light game. It's not, I'll tell you, after reading a bunch of the books so far. But it is really cool. There's a lot of interesting things about it, and we will get into the nitty-gritty of the mechanics as the season progresses, just like we did in season 1. But I want to start off by talking more about the vibes, right? The vibes.
Yeah, dude, it's all about the vibes.
So I pulled a couple of quotes directly from the book that I want to read to you guys and then ask what you think that means, what it makes you think of, what images pop into your head. So keep that in mind as I read this. Urban Shadows is a political urban fantasy role-playing game, a game about cities, the people who live in them, and the machines that make them run. What does that mean to you guys?
I heard urban fantasy, which means vampires.
Wow. Nice.
Hot take right there.
Yeah,
from Nate.
I mean-
yeah, that's correct.
This is just some classic powered by the apocalypse. This is about the people, guys. Kind of game, like, you know, your city and the machine and the people and everything.
You're right.
I mean,
It is very you know, artsy, kind of like, yeah, man, we're fighting the machine, dude. Fight the power, bro. But I mean, can't say I don't love that vibe.
check out our poetic entrance. Like, this isn't just a game about monsters. This is a game about the machine.
Yeah, see, I think I disagree with what Dom said there. I don't think this is a game about fighting the machine necessarily. I think this is a game about being part of the machine. And what I mean by that is, man, you guys are going to be like out for yourselves in this game. This is going to be a game where you're going to have your own objectives and your own agendas and things you want to make happen. And you're largely going to be on your own to do those things. As well as, you know, whoever you can rope in with whatever favors they owe you. And it's all about like getting to the top of the pyramid, right?
Definitely kind of more assimilating or taking our piece of the pie than, you know, tearing the whole thing down.
No, yeah, I mean, to echo what you were saying, I mean, absolutely. It definitely feels like it's a game about, I mean, one of the main mechanics that the players are dealing with is corruption. So it's definitely about being part of that, the seedy underbelly and making those plays and sort of trying to take some kind of control over the city. At least for a lot of the playbooks, it just feels like getting involved in the politics of the thing, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to gloss over what Nate said because it is a huge part of this game. But yeah, there's vampires. There's werewolves, there's ghosts, there's wizards. This is like, let's not overshadow the pun shadows.
Nice.
I'm so funny. Let's not overshadow the fantasy portion of this. And so what does like urban fantasy make you think of? What does that look like to the four of you?
Well, I think it kind of lends itself to what we were already saying of like, you know, I think when I think of urban fantasy, I think werewolves, vampires, that kind of stuff. And I think those lend themselves very clearly to like that idea of like the monster within and like fighting against your baser urges, but then like succumbing to them, which is kind of what this game's about.
I think a big part of it, though, too, is that, you know, two worlds kind of aspect.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. I was definitely going to say that the immediate things that come to mind are sort of those stories about the hidden world, because you take some of these more modern fantasy stories and oftentimes it's another like hidden world as opposed to just a fantasy world in a more modern sci-fi setting, though you do get stuff like that, but it gets really confusing as far as what it is defined as. There is one that comes to mind. What was the Will Smith movie where he's the partner? He's a cop. And his like partner is an orc. So like that's one where it's like, okay, this is kind of urban fantasy, but not hidden world.
Speaking of Will Smith, I just think a lot about Men in Black.
That comes to mind.
Yeah, totally.
I didn't initially think of that, but yeah, totally. That's like urban sci-fi. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that two worlds thing. And then like fun things like Harry Potter is actually a good one. Visually, it is there.
Yeah, there's the human world and then there's the magic world. And the human world is largely unaware of that. That's what we mean when we're talking about two worlds here, which is a major part of this game. That line between those two things and how they overlap and interact with each other. What specific... What we've said vampires, we've said werewolves, like what specific fantasy things do you guys think are like most exciting to think about in a contemporary urban setting existing there?
Cryptids.
Oh, totally. Sure.
Yeah, no, I see it.
Yeah,
they're definitely fun.
The literal monster hunting. Oh, we're going to find Sasquatch. Loch Ness Monster.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's all literal monster hunting, though, in a certain sense.
Anytime you can root something in reality definitely adds to a lot of the fun, I'd say, like urban myths and stuff. But but really,
sure.
I mean, I feel like, it could be a lot of fun with variety. I'm definitely always been leaned towards fantasy stuff. I think, any of that kind of stuff, like the angelic and demon stuff, that like
Definitely.
Constantine, right?
Yeah.
I would say I am more interested in the like folklore part of fantasy in an urban setting than I am like the Tolkien-esque version of fantasy. Like, I don't super want like elves and dwarves in this game. Does anyone feel strongly about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about it. It's never my favorite look. I've seen it in things like Bright and, it was that game Shadowrun. It's just not my favorite aesthetic most of the time.
Yeah.
But I've had more interest in Warhammer recently. So that's a little vaguely, because there's orcs in that and probably demon elves or some bullshit, but I don't know.
That's like its whole thing.
Yeah, it's
though,
like wild though.
Warhammer.
Like, it's pretty unique in that for sure. And that I'm not even sure about. So
I'm generally in agreement. I think that, you could maybe make an exception here or there if it came up or there was a good reason, but if there was elves, I would prefer them to be more, not your typical like Tolkien elf, more like, your more like typical fairy tale elf,
Totally. And like fairies are a thing in this game by the book. Fairy spelled like Faerie. Not like Disney fairy princesses. These are like, messed up fairies that will twist your words into promises that you have to pay back to them. And like that stuff I think is super fun and cool to have in the urban setting.
That type of stuff.
Yeah, not like the treetop dwelling, bow and arrow fire.
Yeah.
Let's get some like those Faustian bargains here.
Dwarves forging. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm with you.
It kind of loses some of its charm to have like that traditional Tolkien-esque style of fantasy in a modern setting.
Yeah, I agree.
Because like it's all about like an unknown larger world, and we know too much to believe in such silly things.
Oh dear.
It's just, okay, these people have pointy ears and that's it.
Really, I think of it as a different, like, my take while agreeing with you guys was more like, I like the idea of like taking those old stories because those are set within our world. And so you're taking characters like from our fake world and bringing it to our new fake world, compared to like just taking creatures from a completely different world and like throwing them on.
Yeah.
Like
a good way to put
in the
it,
other
Nate.
world. Yeah.
Well, and now I will say, I was just thinking, I can't think of one example that did it reasonably well, and that was Artemis Fowl.
There's tons of examples that do it well, but like that's an exception to the rule. It's like we could go on and on for an hour coming up with exceptions.
I think we're already at the point where we're starting to go, it's like, well, wait, how can we make that really cool?
I think we're on the same page here, but that did remind me of one trope that I do really love about like urban fantasy, and that I will find a way to interject into this campaign at some point, is when a like famous historical figure is revealed to have been some sort of magical creature all along. I have a vague sense of an idea of what I want to do with that that I'm pretty excited about. We'll see if that's what I end up using or not. But there will be a historical figure who is a ghost or vampire or whatever at some point in this campaign.
The last urban fantasy game I played, one of the old ex-presidents was Bigfoot.
Nice. Okay.
That's very good. Let's move on a little bit, because another big part of this game, and sort of the reverse of the fantasy aspect, is that it does take place in our world, in the real world. And specifically, it is supposed to take place in an actual city. And we discussed this off the pod. We debated. Zach got really mad at me for my word choice.
That is the wrong word. You're just inflecting emotion on text that I wrote.
I came around.
It was a passionate ass text, Zach.
Yeah, well, that's just how
and
I
by
write.
that, I mean it was a passionate hour of texts.
The city that we have decided to set our campaign in is Las Vegas, baby.
Wait, I thought we just settled on Chicago.
City.
Shut up.
Ooh, Vegas sucks.
As you can hear, Tyler has some
Great way to
strong
sell
opinions
the
about
season,
the
Tyler.
city, which I think will be a benefit to the campaign. But
Yeah, it will be, because it's one of the most miserable places I've ever been to.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about that.
No, I'll stop.
But I think it's really important for a game like this to have a city with an identity, right? And Las Vegas has one of the most unique identities in America. And it's this sun-scorched city that shouldn't exist in the middle of a desert, and it's this bed of gambling and pleasure and everything. And I feel like that gives us so many angles to work towards for this campaign.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just seems like a perfect place that people, don't ask questions, and it's easier to, it's the perfect place for a double, everything's superficial in Vegas. So it's the perfect place to hide see the underbelly.
Yeah, casino vampires just makes too much sense.
And it's packed full of weirdos, so, nothing's ever going to seem out of sort. But not like the fun kind of weirdos.
Hopefully we don't have too many of you listeners in Vegas, because we don't have that big of a listenership to begin with. So
I've met a few of them. They would agree with me.
Tyler, you've obviously been there. You have your own feelings. Has anyone else been to Vegas?
Yeah, I've been to Vegas.
I have also been to Vegas.
Nate?
No.
Neither have I. Which, some of our listeners might be like, what? How can he run a game in a place he's never been? And the answer is Wikipedia and
movies.
Movies. Yep. 100%. I might check out some like local news sites. But it's
all right. Vegas is like 3 streets.
It's okay, dear listeners. Spoilers, he didn't visit space either.
Yeah, I was nice.
We're going to be upfront about this. This is going to be largely based on the collective understanding of Vegas's vibes and pop culture than it is necessarily going to be super accurate specifics about the city. I'm gonna get stuff wrong. I'm gonna make stuff up.
Look, this is an alternate reality very, very similar to ours.
Yeah, there's
and
also
Las
gonna be
Vegas
like magic and
just,
stuff.
happens to have a bunch of magic people, and it's a little different than how you know it.
Yeah, just picture it like a Rick and Morty episode and you'll be fine.
And the last thing I sort of want to touch base on is that within the game, there are 4 different groups, and the character options are made of representatives from these different groups, and they like different factions that you'll be interacting with are going to make up these groups. And so I want to talk about them. The first is called Mortalis. And don't worry, that's the only one with like a weird fancy name. Mortalis, which is generally humans that are aware of the supernatural. Normal, mundane people who know about the existence of the supernatural and interact with it in some way, but at the end of the day are still regular people. The next group is called Knight. That's without a K. Knight.
Nice.
People who have been changed from humans into monsters. You know, these are going to be your vampires, your werewolves, your ghosts. The next group is Power. These are humans, regular people, who have come to have magic or command magic in some way, whether that's through, you know, training, whether that's they've been blessed or cursed by something, but they have not fully transformed into a non-human creature. They are a human with power. And then the last group is Wild. And this is things from outside our world. They come from somewhere else. This is going to be your fairies. This is going to be your demons. Zach, you had said angels earlier. We can throw angels in there, I'm sure. So those are your 4 groups: Mortalis, Knight, Power, and Wild. There are going to be factions that make up those groups that you guys will interact with, that you guys might be members of. You know, it'll be up to you. The book doesn't offer like specific concrete factions. It gives some ideas, you know, Coven of Witches or, you know, whatever. But I thought it would be fun with those groups in mind to just, you know, spitball some ideas of factions of these different sorts of powers that might exist in Las Vegas. So does anyone have any ideas?
You know, things like crossroad demons and their, like, you know, collected legions of, you know, soul owed servants and stuff, you know, whatever you would call that. But
yeah, something that kind of speaks to the desert vibe of it and is like the crossroad demons. That'd be pretty cool.
Like they, you know, give people power and collect a bunch of souls, and then, you know, they own a bunch of people important people in the city.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. So that would be a Wild faction.
Definitely some sort of organized crime for Mortalis. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Like, it just, of course the mob knows about, has dealings with fucking Dracula and shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably like a bunch of different groups, right? Like,
oh, for sure.
One, yeah, like straight up the mafia, but also like probably a casino owner, right? Who is maybe not technically doing anything illegal, but like, I don't know, that still feels
they're
very
harboring vampires or
yeah.
something. Yeah, but like you can have there's definitely a lot of seedy people trading sort of the livelihoods and goods of, you know, of people just moving to the city looking for a new start, or folks who are just you know, going to Vegas for a crazy night. You know, a lot of crazy characters, and there's a lot of people looking to abuse them, just like in real life in the world, right? So yeah, there's definitely a lot of big players, I would think, in that space. One thing that came to mind, because one thing that also happens in Vegas is I bet there's like a preacher faction of people who are like telling everyone they're going to hell. And I'm wondering if there's something deeper there in this, sort of world. Maybe it's a mortalis thing. Maybe it's a power thing. Like it could just be.
Maybe it's a wild thing.
Yeah,
right?
It could be a lot. Oh, yeah. It's a straight up angels.
Your sin is making the demons stronger, guys.
So I think there's something definitely there to look at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff. Obviously, the vampire-owned casinos sounds like a must.
Casinos don't have windows or clocks, so you stay in them longer. So perfect place for a bunch of vampires to hang out.
Plus, it's a perfect place for them to get victims, people that lose all their money and want to commit suicide.
Yikes!
Or
But like,
just,
yes,
hey, I'll give you $100 and a plane ticket if you let me drink some of your blood.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of desperate people in Vegas, which is another reason why it sucks.
Preying on desperate people.
Well, speaking of vampires, I do also think of like vampires or demons that don't necessarily suck blood, but like suck the life force out of people, and like happiness sucking vampires and that kind of stuff for like the big shows of Vegas. I don't know.
Yo, what about luck sucking vampires?
Ooh,
Yikes.
Oh, man.
That sounds fun.
I don't know how that would work, but that idea just popped into my head. And I think it's
Immediately
fun.
very interesting. If there's something fun to do with that.
Suck the luck, baby.
I think Nate brought something good with the circus stuff, because that's definitely a thing that I even thought about making my character circus. But like big live performance is a big thing that you can look at. And there was, hotels. Just tons of fancy hotels. So that's another thing.
Fancy hotels, and then also like bad hotels, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because right off the strip, what everyone thinks of, I believe it's called Fremont, and that is like the bad area of Vegas, is my understanding. So, yeah, we'll definitely take advantage of that in our game too.
Just like the vampires taking advantage of the hardships of the world. I'm sorry.
We haven't really touched on. No, that was good. We haven't really touched on power. People who have magic, wizards, oracles, stuff like that. Immortals. What do you think that might look like in this setting?
Well, Burning Man's about 80 miles away from it. So there's that.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Also, I would think my mind kind of goes to like the Men Who Stare at Goats, like some sort of covert federal government psychic nonsense going on.
Yes.
It's also not too far away from Area 51, and you got weird UFO sightings and shit around there.
Government mages.
Yeah, government mages.
Government mages is fun.
I mean, come on. The United States totally has weaponized psychics.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you said the Men Who Stare at Goats, I was sold. I was like, oh shit, I see it now.
I think of a lot of like the big wigs that like don't show their face being like either power or mortalis.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the
totally.
face of Vegas would be those like vampire run casinos, and then like the hidden people that are actually running stuff are like more I think of the wizards and stuff in that category.
Obviously, every single bouncer is a werewolf.
Okay, not literally every single bouncer is a werewolf, and
but literally, yes.
Whatever,
you could
dude.
pretty much count on it. They even put signs on their door. We've got a werewolf.
I don't need a sign for that.
It doesn't say it, but there's just like a little logo and everyone knows.
Nice. That's pretty cool, actually. That's kind of based.
trying to think of how like fairies could fit in, because I do kind of want to have.
Okay, well,
something
100%
with them.
fairies definitely like to gamble. You know that.
Yeah, gambling
true,
is in
yeah.
there for sure. Like,
But like not for money, right? You know.
Yeah. No, they hang around casinos trying to get people to gamble other shit. They're like, oh, you're out of money? Oh, I could fix that for
well,
you.
yeah, I could honestly though, they might even because they're fairies, and I could definitely see them getting people to gamble away all their money just so they don't have any money.
Yeah.
You know? Like that seems like a very fairy thing to do. It's like, you don't have any money anymore.
Oh.
Isn't that so hilarious?
That sucks. What are you going to do?
You have
I'm just going to go
life ahead of
disappear.
you, and
Bye-bye.
You've destroyed it. What are you going to do? I'm going to throw this money in a fire.
Watch me.
Those are all really good ideas.
Drugs. The fairies are going to be doing drugs.
I think fairies and like the weird otherworldly stuff could be fun to fit in with the Area 51 stuff Tyler was bringing up.
Yeah, that's interesting because like the book makes it pretty clear that like most of the game should take place within the city, right? But that doesn't mean we could never go outside of the city. And outside of Vegas, there is a lot of notable things. Like the Grand Canyon's not that far away, you know? Maybe there's weird mystical stuff going on there. Maybe Area 51, maybe Burning Man.
Yeah, and stuff that's from there can absolutely find its way to Vegas.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's go around the table and everybody give one more idea of something that they would like, that you really do want to see in the game. Let's start with Tyler as our newest member.
This is something Dom and I were actually discussing. We're kind of, and we mentioned it earlier in this discussion, we are a little interested in cryptids and even some like local Native American culture sprinkled into it, just to add that real life old world charm that's in there. So what were they called? Like the ancient Pueblan culture was around there. The Mojave tribe. I forget the name of the other one. Sorry, they don't teach us about this in school. You have to seek this crap out. It's almost like they don't want you to know about how bad it was.
That's interesting. I do want to make sure that, you know, of course, we'll be respectful of any, you know.
We'll try to be. It's two white guys and three Englishmen.
Folklore that we use. The European stuff, who cares? We'll
we could appropriate that to our heart's content.
Yeah, dude, we have a pass.
We got a Europe pass.
No, that's interesting. How about Nate?
Let's go with just a good old fashioned hunters guild or like a slayers faction, some kind of monster hunters.
Totally, you know, because if there's gonna be vampires and there's gonna be vampires, then there have to be vampire hunters, you know.
Let's go.
And Ghostbusters and
fuck yeah,
werewolf
Who you gonna call?
trackers, all sorts of good stuff. Yeah, good call out, Nate. Hunters Guild. Zach, how about you?
Well, I definitely, other than, you know, definitely think the Crossroad Demons sounds like one of the cool factions, but other than something like that, I was thinking like just in general, like a cult.
Sure, there's a lot of different ways to go with that. Do you have anything specific in mind?
Yes. So you know, it could be a couple different ways. We could do, you know, some like elder kind of Cthulhu-esque looking cult, whether or not that's there or not, or just a cult that like or aliens or something.
Not Scientology.
No. I'm pretty open to it, honestly. I like the idea of the cult being mostly wrong about a lot of things.
Interesting.
They're obviously there, but I think that could be an interesting faction to get involved.
Sure. A cult. And Dom, how about you?
I'm probably going to do some more digging. But one thing that, as far as like, I covered a number of the things that I think I particularly gravitate towards different cultural movements and different like sort of iconic parts of Vegas to kind of come up. So the two things that immediately come to me, a big sort of like a bunch of, execs who come into Vegas on their vacation, right? So you have these like big shows, these big demonstrations, whether it's like a tech show or like just any kind of huge, conglomerate.
Just a bunch of, business types. Yeah.
Yeah. A bunch of business people come to some giant business convention. And that is definitely a place that's primed for a lot of the kind of mystical nonsense and craziness that could be interesting, or as a part of something that the sort of active members of the city are taking advantage of as a massive part. And they might have the people who host that might be mortales who are connected to sort of these the underground nonsense madness of the other world.
QAnon.
No.
Yeah, the QAnon. No, but just the secret power players of Vegas in the story.
Give me the hyper specific industry that like this convention is for.
I think a big marketing thing.
Okay, there's a big marketing convention. A bunch of ad execs. It's Mad Men, basically.
Fun times.
Oh no.
Yeah, like actual demons.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, like literally.
The rest are just sociopaths.
There you go.
Very cool. And I've already said mine, that there will be a historical figure who is actually some kind of magical being, that will like head up some sort of faction or something. Yeah, that's a lot of really fun ideas. I'm super excited to get this game going. Anybody have anything they want to add before we get out of here?
I'm going to play a wizard.
I cast Fireball.
Nice.
Yeah, I swear if you take Magic Missile again.
It's called Force Barrage now. That's a joke for my Pathfinder 2e remaster friends.
Let's go. 3-action economy.
Yeah, stop it.
But that will about do it for us for now. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will be at you very soon with
Bye-bye.
First episode.
Sorry, you
Urban
paused.
Shadows campaign.
You really did, Zach.
You paused. I
Zach,
thought
that
you were
was
just
so
done.
fast.
No.
You were
no,
leading it on that.
We can edit out the pause.
Keep it all in, Tyler. And
I'm
hit
keeping
the
it in. Are you
music.
kidding me? There are times where I have to save Zach from himself, and there are times to not save Zach from himself.
Thank you for listening to Escape the Dungeon. Escape the Dungeon is created by Dom Brass, Nate Brass, Zach Brass, and Mike Cripps, with editing and original music by Tyler Knittle. If you enjoyed this show, please consider subscribing and leaving a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. To find us on social media, go to escapethedungeonpod.com.